One of the biggest misconceptions in youth sport is confusing adaptation to pressure with actual potential. Hey, welcome back to Youth Sports Lab. So today is a reflections video following up on my last video about controlling coaching styles and the anxiety that causes in youth athletes and how it affects their development and performance. And this is a really broad topic, so I wanted to come back and just leave some thoughts, some additional thoughts and reflections on that topic, and I'll definitely be covering more around this going forward because obviously coaching styles and how to get the best out of youth athletes is at the core of performance and development. So let's jump into it. Many coaches genuinely believe that pressure reveals mental toughness. The underlying philosophy is something like this: if a child can't handle this environment now, they won't survive later on at higher levels. And because a small number of athletes do succeed in highly controlling systems, the method can appear validated. But there's an important logical problem there. The athletes who survive the environment become visible. The athletes harmed by it disappear quietly. And that creates a kind of selection bias. My methods produce elite athletes, is what a coach will say, when in reality, the environment may simply be filtering for certain personalities, certain nervous systems, certain family backgrounds, or children who suppress anxiety differently. Meanwhile, late developers, sensitive but highly intelligent athletes, creative athletes, anxious perfectionists, and children with enormous long-term potential may leave the sport entirely. They may underperform or psychologically shut down before their abilities fully emerge. That's one of the biggest misconceptions in youth sport, confusing adaptation to pressure with actual potential. I just want to highlight that again. One of the biggest misconceptions in youth sport is confusing adaptation to pressure with actual potential. There's also another issue. Some athletes do survive these environments, but will still carry psychological costs: chronic anxiety, fear-based motivation, identity tied to performance, burnout, emotional suppression, difficulty enjoying achievement, or never feeling good enough. From the outside, they look successful. Internally, it can be very different. You hear this constantly in retrospective interviews with elite athletes across many sports. And importantly, modern high-performance psychology increasingly challenges the old pressure creates champions model, because elite performance under pressure usually depends on emotional regulation, attentional control, confidence, adaptability, creativity, intrinsic motivation, and secure self-belief. Fear can create intensity, but it often interferes with fluid performance, especially in skill-based sports. Now, to be fair, elite sport does require significant resilience. Children eventually need exposure to pressure, failure, accountability, discomfort, selection disappointment, and competition stress. The question is how those experiences are delivered. There's a massive difference between challenge and threat. The best developmental environments often combine very high standards, honest feedback, accountability, and intense training with emotional stability and psychological safety. That combination is harder to build than authoritarian control, but increasingly it's what many top development systems are moving toward. Some controlling coaches may indeed produce a few elite performers, but that does not necessarily mean the method is optimal, the outcomes justify the collateral damages, or that morally athletes wouldn't emerge in a healthier environment. And yes, there's a very real possibility that youth sport loses an enormous amount of talent because children are evaluated not just on ability, but on how well they tolerate adult emotional pressure at ages 11, 12, or 13, and in many cases, even younger. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoy this sort of content, please subscribe, drop a comment, leave a like, whichever one or all three, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.